honestly, seeing you two here in person just made like one of my childhood dreams come true.
Aww.
And this is for Paige, like, and just like a question me and my friend like thought up. Sorry, I'm like really nervous for seeing you two. Paige, what did you think about like the whole Beauty and the Beast remake live action thing? I just want to know what you thought about it.
Well, you know, a lot of people are critical of them doing the live actions, but I think it's wonderful because it will bring another demographic and different audience that may not be interested. As a matter of fact, since the live action came out, there have been a lot of people who have told me that they saw my Beauty and the Beast for the first time as a result of seeing that one. They wanted to see where it came from, and so we have new fans for my movie as well. But I thought they did a beautiful job. Don Hahn co-produced it. As you know, Don Hahn produced the original of mine. And I thought Emma was adorable, and I was so happy to meet the whole cast on opening night. And Dan Stevens, I've been a huge fan of his for a long time.
Oh yeah, did they let you like come to the set too?
You know, most of it was done in Europe. A lot of it was in Europe, and so I didn't. But Don Hahn and Emma and I had this little thing going where he would give her my message, and she'd give me a message, and she was very, very nervous about singing. And I saw her at the opening night, and literally it was at the, you know, after the red carpet, and she started screaming, "Paige!" and all these people were looking and clicking pictures, and she came over and hugged me, and she just said, you know, that she was very respectful. They were all so respectful. I mean, there are certain things I could pick that I don't like. I think the press already knows. But the thing I really loved is Emma put in a line that I had ad-libbed 25 years earlier at the end of the movie when the Beast becomes the prince. And I had ad-libbed, "Do you think you could grow a beard?" And she put it in the new version. I was so happy.
Thank you, and both of you look so amazing, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, thank you so much for coming out here to see us.
Thanks.
Belle has been my princess forever. And when I was little, it's because she has brown hair and brown eyes and looks kind of like me. And which is, as I get older, I realize that that's how important representation is in film. But then also as I aged, I looked at all the other facets of Belle and Jasmine and how great they are as role models and to be your own person. And you guys have been there since the beginning, and you've seen it grow from animated film to stage production,
right.
And now the Beauty and the Beast live action we just spoke about. And I was wondering if there's any sense of the kind of impact that these films were going to have when you were working on them, or if it was just kind of another job for you guys.
That's a good question. I don't think that I had a sense of it. I mean, it wasn't just another job for me, it was a special job for me. I knew that from the beginning, but I had no idea how huge it was gonna be. Their movie hadn't come out yet. When Beauty and the Beast came out, I was like, oh, I think this is gonna be a big movie. Like, it was, I realized then that I was a part of something bigger than I could have ever imagined.
Yeah, I feel the same way, but also with Little Mermaid, I mean, I was so happy that finally, and I don't know how many of you know this, but Howard Ashman and Alan Menken literally pleaded with Walt Disney to make this movie. Thank you, yes. Howard, listen, I know he's listening to you. They put their own money into it. I mean, the budget was really low budget, but Howard was the face of that. And Howard was the heart and soul of Beauty and the Beast. All of Beauty and the Beast was done through Howard Ashman's vision. And I think that's why it was so incredible, because every single person that worked on the film, I mean, even as Belle, I mean, all the animators, there's Mark Hinn, James Baxter, you know, they're Belle. Linda Wolverton, who wrote Belle, she's Belle, we're all Belle. And it all kind of, they all had the same vision. And I think that's partly why it was so magical and so a classic. But I also want to say for Howard Ashman, I mean, had they not done that, look at the amount of films of this time period from 1988 till now that may have never happened if it weren't for Howard Ashman. So I love him and I miss him, and I know you love him too. But also to finish answering your question, I didn't know the magnitude until we did a special screening at the Lincoln Center. And it was an unfinished version in New York City. And we were so nervous because it was, you know, some of it was fully animated, some wasn't. And the New York critics, being a Broadway actress, I know how tough they can be. But I was in the back shaking along with Jeffrey Katzenberg and Don Hahn. And after the movie finished, the entire audience stood up of all those tough critics, and they did not sit down for 10 minutes. And we went on the stage, and I just looked at Don. I said, "These are your toughest critics right here. They love it. It's a hit." And we were all like, "Oh my God!" It was a really exciting moment, and it's turned out to be true, and the only animated feature ever to be nominated for the Oscar for Best Picture. So, yeah.
Only one that will ever be nominated.
Yes, because they
now
changed
have
the
their own
category. That's
so
right.
That is a distinction that will hold.
And it did win the Golden Globe for Best Picture.
That's right.
But that other family film won the Oscar, Silence of the Lambs.
Beauty and the Beast was better.
It's okay. Even Billy Crystal told me he thought Beauty and the Beast should win.
Hi guys. I know you were already asked about what your favorite musicals were, but I was wondering if you could play any role on stage, whether it was a musical or a play, what would be your dream role to play?
Oh, wow. Oh, that's hard. That's so
I mean, because, you know, in my mind, I'm still, you know, 35 and not 62. You know? I can still play that. No, Paige, you cannot. It's like, I don't know. What about you? What do you think?
That is
I'll have to think about it.
hard. Like, I don't know. That is just it. I would have to think about it. There are so many things that, you know, I see something, I see a performance that inspires me, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I would love to do that one day. One thing I always say, I don't know if you ever saw a movie called Harold and Maude, but I always,
Yes!
I always was like, one day I want to play Maude. Like, I want to do that kind of character.
You'd be
when I'm
awesome in
older.
that.
I love.
Well, let's produce it. Let's do it. Okay.
Heard it here first.
I guess for me, but in high school I played Mame and Auntie Mame and Mame, and I was really good because my mother was Mame in life. So all I had to do was imitate my mother. But I think now they're casting, you know, Hello Dolly. The gals are in their 60s, actually 70s, with Betty Buckley, and they're kicking butt. They're so good. Oh my gosh, Betty Buckley sounds as great as ever. And she's doing the national tour, so if Hello Dolly comes through town, you must see Betty Buckley as Hello Dolly. But I think I'd like to play Mame now, knowing what I know now. But I would like to go back and revisit that role, for sure.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Hello. Again, thank you so much for coming. It's really great to see you guys. Huge fan. And I have a question from my friend who couldn't make it, for Paige. And it's, what is one thing that the character of Belle has taught you in the years of betraying her?
Well, you know what's kind of wonderful, there are things that have been accentuated, you know, that as I've gotten older, but Belle was the only role in my whole career that was so close to playing myself that it was almost hard and intimidating. And the more and more I'd get in the studio, Howard and everybody would say, I don't know where you're going with this, you need to go back to playing Paige, because she is you, really. I think I really appreciate more, when I was in my 30s, it was a little bit different than it is in my 60s. In my 60s, I appreciate the fact that Belle didn't hesitate to give up her life for her father. And now that I'm older and I've lost parents, and my dear sister Julie, who was my dearest friend, I look at that whole sacrifice thing differently, you know? I didn't really appreciate that enough in my 30s, you know? I kind of have to live it, you know? But I love the fact that Linda Wolverton wrote this female heroine who is strong, unselfish, passionate, And she was smart and loved books and loved her independence and was not looking for a prince. She was looking for adventure. And it was about time that the princesses were revolutionized into being strong women and not pacified. It's crazy. It's crazy to me that it didn't happen before that time. But look at now, how they've become. I mean, Mulan, my gosh, I idolize Mulan. I mean, I took up kickboxing because of Mulan. I mean, I just love the whole strength, and Jasmine too. I mean, she's just...
I went to a panel at a convention in Connecticut, and it was the princesses from Snow White to today, and how the princesses evolved with the changing times. And this woman talked about each princess, and she would put on the display for each princess how much money women made compared to men in that year that the princess came out.
That would make it clear.
Oh my! It would creep up and up and up, and you know, it used to be like 20 cents on the dollar, and then it was, by the time Jasmine came along, it was 72 cents on the dollar. And you see the women get stronger as their salaries increased. So, you know, things that people fight for today, like parity and equality and all of that stuff, you see it reflected in these princesses. You do.
And that pretty much almost any job a woman can do as well as a man. I think that. Maybe not everything, but then there are some that women do better than men. But we won't get into politics.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi, this is a question for my sister, for Linda. She wanted to know if you can sing Anything Goes from Chorus Line.
No.
Which song is that? Which one is that?
I don't know if that is from the
Isn't
Chorus
Anything
Line.
Goes from the musical Anything Goes, Cole Porter?
You're giving me bad information.
Well, there's a song called Anything Goes from the show Anything Goes
That's what I was...
by Cole Porter. Reno Sweet. Actually, that's the part I was playing when I was recording Belle. I was playing Reno in New York, and Anything Goes. It's a great play.
I mean, the short answer is I don't sing. So when I first got the part of Princess Jasmine, there was no song. So I don't think I would have even auditioned for it because I was not a musical theater person. I was an actress. I was doing television and commercials and stuff like that, but I wouldn't have auditioned for it had there been a song. And when they added a song, I was like, I'm so getting fired.
There's no way they would fire you. You're the heart of the part.
I was grateful that they didn't, and that they found such an incredible talent to sing for me. So it was, you know, a gift that Lea Salonga came along and
you don't know, Lea Salonga is so awesome. But I don't. It was at the Legend Awards that night. I was yakking with her in the dressing room, and Lea and I actually went to Hong Kong for the opening of the Disney World there, and we sang a concert together that night. So I got to know her more than she idolized you. I don't think she's ever told you, but she was intimidated by you.
Oh, that's so
So,
funny. No,
but Linda's too sweet. She would never.
I've never noticed that.
I know that's
we
not
would
your style, but that's what I
see
love
each
about
other.
you.
See, we really, the princesses are like princess power. We are
Princess power. We love it.
Thank you for your question.
Thank you.
Hi, so I love you both as the roles, and that you chose love over, like you chose your own, you wanted to choose love instead of it being chosen for you, and that you were a book nerd. And so my question for both of you is, did you have a series of like children's books that you enjoyed reading? Like I liked Amelia Bedelia books, so I wanted to know what your guys' were.
Oh, Nancy Drew mysteries as a kid. I love those. Those were fun.
And
Yeah.
I love the Little House on the Prairie series. That was my favorite book series, but I also read Nancy Drew. I loved
Oh
those
yeah,
too.
that was awesome.
Yeah.
But my mom, being an English teacher, she was giving me things that were way beyond my years, but she said read it anyway. I mean, it was Hemingway and J.D. Salinger. It was like, you know, but that was my mom. But I'm glad she did. It expanded my horizons. But I also love William Shakespeare, and even as a little kid, I always had an attraction to the language that he used. And it was funny, and musical theater people are sometimes the best at portraying Shakespearean characters because of the musicality of the language. Meryl Streep being a perfect example. When I first came to New York, she was known as the greatest Shakespearean actress in New York City, and people would go just to see her at Shakespeare in the Park and study her. I mean, it was amazing. But she's always been musical. A lot of people were surprised when they found out she sang. One of her first shows in New York was a musical. And, but I'm getting off on Shakespeare. I got to do a whole hour on Shakespeare, but anyway, that's mine.
I mean, you guys had Harry Potter. We didn't have that, so you guys are really lucky to have that as kids. We didn't have that yet.
But the ones now that my mom introduced me to James Patterson's Maximum Ride series. Have you guys read it? Maximum Ride, the genetically engineered children who have superpowers. They're bird children, and Max is the strong leader of the group and saves the world, and it's all fun stuff.
Hi, I'm a little starstruck because I grew up with Disney and I grew up with you guys, so excuse my stuttering. But we know that Disney's been doing like the live action remakes of all these movies, and I love the live action Beauty and the Beast. But what would your guys' dream cast be for Aladdin, Jasmine, and the voice of Genie if they did a live action?
Wow. But you already do know who's cast, right?
Yes, we know who's cast. They are doing a live action. Do you know about it?
No, I don't. Sorry.
Will Smith, it's Will Smith. Will Smith is in it, right?
So I cannot confirm that. I don't know 100%, but that's what I heard too.
That Will Smith is the genie? Well, that'd be pretty cool, huh?
I know that Aladdin and Jasmine are actors that I didn't know, but they're not brand new. They have some credits, so I think some people will recognize them, but they're, you know.
Do you have
gonna be
a
huge
cast
after
you
this.
would pick?
No, I didn't even know that like they were doing live action. Sorry.
They're
guys.
doing it.
Do you guys know, is it
Do
Will
you
Smith?
know about it?
It is Will Smith. Oh my gosh, he'll be great.
Yeah, it's gonna be
He'll be
great.
He's one of the few superstars. There's two that the Disney people in the public relations department talk about, because I always want to know the scoop on who's good and who's nice and all that. They said Will Smith is adorable and loving and funny, and that Chris Hemsworth is also their other favorite. I was so happy to hear that they say Chris Hemsworth is the easiest guy to get along with. He's always really funny and charming and will do anything they ask him to do, and Will Smith is the other one. So isn't it nice to hear that about superstars like that? They're really, really down to earth. You know, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Hi.